So now we're up to 2 cats, leopard gecko, dog, 2 budgies, 3 children. This is what I get for marrying a pet person when I am not one. Hello and welcome to the Part-Time Gamers, the gaming podcast for people with full-time lives. I'm Cyranex, clocking in with my good friend 9 of 12.
There.
We gotta figure out the settings on your Discord, because literally, we've been talking for the last, 15, almost 20 minutes, and it's been fine. And then whenever you do your intro, it cuts off the first half of whatever you say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something about the music or something.
Well, it might be actually one of my settings then. It might be dipping the audio because it's still playing the music. All right. Well, I'm pretty sure
This is futile.
I'm pretty sure we've said this exact same thing multiple times and still have not changed
many
it.
Times.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what to change.
Yeah, that is true. So if you out there listening know what settings we should change so it'll stop doing that, please contact us at parttimegamers.cast@gmail.com or join our Discord channel. The link of which is in our description. And also, I just realized I didn't pick an icebreaker. So, yeah, anyway. Speaking of our icebreaker, let's just wing it.
Nice of you to drop by.
Never heard that one before.
I almost got you a present today.
Really? Why?
I was in Ollie's because, I went to go see Dune 2 and the theater got evacuated.
Oh, yeah.
So we had time to kill because we were going to go to dinner, but it was 3.
Yeah.
The movie started, 2:45 was the movie time, and then, credits and then, previews, and we were late anyway. And they didn't have the popcorn bucket, much to our chagrin. But then after the evacuation, we went over to Ollie's. Do you have those around you? They're like a closeout place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rob had never been in one. And he was curious to go. Probably because last time I went to one, I got multiple copies of Warriors of Krynn board game and these Dungeon in a Box sets.
Oh, yeah.
And I got their ad in the mail, and they had this. They were really, really cheap, and all this D&D stuff. So I drove there, and they had mountains of it. I got some for us. I got some for people we play with. Whatever. So we went to Ollie's and we were wandering around, and they had Frozone action figures.
Bring it around. There we go.
There you go. That was it. And I thought, I should get Sean a Frozone. It's
that'd be hilarious.
For that one bumper.
For that one line. All right, I think I still have the wheel of O stuff on here, and I think I finally found one that a question we haven't asked. If you could see one movie again for the first time, what would it be and why?
Dune 2, because I only saw 5 minutes of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, technically, it's not see it again for the first time because you haven't seen it. If you could magically erase your memory of a certain movie so you could enjoy it again, what movie would it be? Man, that is a tough question.
Gosh, there's a lot I can there's such a varied. My answers would be so varied of movies that I really love and have watched a bunch of times, or are just really weird. So that was there are movies that leave you with what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah.
That you would never get that experience out of it again, right?
Yeah.
Zombie Women of Satan is one of those. It's it has no zombies. It has no Satan. It does have a scene with a dwarf taking a shit in the woods for about 5 whole minutes of exclamations. It's really weird.
Yeah, that seems like a weird choice. Oh man. That is a
You know what I
I'm
think? I think Moulin Rouge.
okay.
Like it's so wonderfully surprising the first time I saw it. Like the way they did the music using medleys of like, modern music and stuff. And
Yeah.
I didn't know Ewan McGregor could sing, and then he's singing David Bowie, and
Yeah.
and it's so visually stunning. And I really, I love it. And it's visually interesting, it's musically interesting, and the it's fun and silly and, heartbreaking in parts. And, but yeah,
Hmm.
nothing like that first time of being just taken on that journey.
Yeah. Huh. Oh, trying to think. Like one that came to mind that which is it's a strange one because I didn't really like the movie. I thought it was kind of boring. But Sixth Sense, because I knew what the twist was before I saw the movie. Oh, now granted, to me, like with or without that knowledge, I still found the movie just incredibly boring. Like literally going through the entire movie is like, isn't this supposed to be like spooky or scary or anything like that? Just just wasn't doing it for me. Um, another one I'm thinking of would probably be a better answer because I actually did enjoy the movie was Serenity.
Mm.
Um, because when I watched Serenity, I at that point I hadn't watched Firefly. And since I have since gone and watched Firefly and seen the series and everything, but being able to watch the series, then watch the movie to see how they kind of try to wrap everything up, I think it would have been a much better experience. So yeah, if I could erase one movie from my current memory and watch it again, it'd probably be that.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. I watched them the wrong way around like that as
Yeah,
well.
man, that
But
it.
it's a
Oh,
much better answer than stuff because I thought like, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, stuff like that. But if you'd have to erase all the sequels too to be able to get
yeah,
that first time experience again because you didn't know any of the characters, right?
yeah. Yeah, like in order to really enjoy Star Wars, you'd have to like completely erase the entire like first six movies from your memory. And
Yeah.
then you'd have
Your
to do,
childhood, your
yeah,
adulthood,
basically,
like
yeah. And then you'd like, I remember I'm sure this debate is still going on, like what the proper order of watching the movies actually is. Oh,
oh, there's a couple different ways to line
yeah.
that up. Yeah.
I I think the one that I thought the best was I believe referred to as the machete order. Oh, where I think it was oh watch 4, 5, 2, 3, 6. Oh, then like the explanation behind doing it that way is you start off with the story is about Luke primarily. Then you get to Empire Strikes Back, and then you go back to episode 2, and it's basically a flashback of what led up to Darth Vader becoming who he is. And then you go to 6 where you get that final conclusion of the whole of that section of the series. And the reason they do it that way is because if you watch it just in episode order,
The order it
you,
came out.
well, not even the order that it came out, but the order that the episode. If you go in the episode order, then you get the spoiler that okay, that big moment of Luke, I am your father. That's completely ruined because you saw what led up to that.
Right.
But if you watch those first, and episode 1 is completely
See,
irrelevant, but
yeah, I mean, but it would just be a different way of looking at it because
yeah,
it's a spoiler for us, but I mean, Luke didn't know. So,
well, yeah,
and that was the actual point of the
yeah,
scene.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and
But yeah,
at the
it was fun
time,
to be surprised by that in the theater.
yeah, I mean, at the time that it was released, it was a big surprise for everyone. because we didn't have those previous movies. We didn't have the prequel
Yeah.
trilogy. So to kind of like preserve that to any degree for the 3 people in the world who haven't seen Star Wars, that I think would be like the best order to do it in. But there's still debates about it even before the last trilogy came out.
People have way too much time on their hands to be
Yeah.
thinking about all this. Like,
Yeah. And kind of a side tangent because you just reminded me of someone who has way too much time on his hands. So a while back we said that Matt Pat from the Game Theorist Network and everything was retiring. His official last day was yesterday. So he's officially in his retirement. So it's gonna be interesting. He's not gonna be gone. He's still gonna be around, but he's no longer gonna be head of
he's
game
not
theory.
dying, he's just retiring.
Basically, I mean, even like he said, he's still gonna be playing games on the couch for GT Live, but he's not gonna be doing the theories and stuff anymore. Or at least not heading them up. I mean, I'm sure he's still going to be like consulting and stuff like that, maybe giving ideas for them, but he's not going to be the one. He's not going to be the lead on those anymore. So I thought that and it was kind of funny some of the theories that he did because he knew he was leaving. It's like I think one of them was what was the carbon footprint of all of the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah.
It's like he actually calculated out like how much CO2 and emissions and stuff like that the cars gave off during the movies. I thought that was hilarious. And just like he had some very interesting ones too. Like one of his last ones for film theory was about how a lot of movies and TV shows and stuff like that don't really have a good male role model in them anymore. Because of because of toys, basically, and how kids play with the toys. I thought it was really interesting that they did he researched this study that showed that boys will play with toys in the third person. So they'll be directing the action, but they won't be portraying any of the characters in the action. Whereas girls tended to play in the first person, which is why we have so much more strong female representation lately, is because they put themselves in that character's position. And I can see that even with my own daughters, because my daughters love dressing up as Elsa and stuff like that and portraying the characters. Whereas me remembering how I used to play with toys, it usually was in the third person. I was playing, directing the action rather than being part of the action. And so I thought that was interesting. For boys, it's basically you just have to have a cool character, and that's it. It doesn't matter like what kind of personality they have, how mean they are, or whatever. They just have to be a cool character. But for girls, it has to be like an actual character you want them to be like, that you want them to aspire to be like. So it was a really interesting episode. I think it was the last one of Film Theory. But yeah, anyways, that was a tangent. I just wanted to say that he's officially on his retirement, and he thinks too much about stuff like this. So anyway,
Interesting.
yeah,
I thought it was interesting. Akira Toriyama died,
Yeah.
and the creator of Dragon Ball Z. And I went to look that up
Yeah.
because I wanted to mention it because I'm not a Dragon Ball Z person, but
Oh,
um,
that was my childhood.
at least one of my sons is. My friend Holden, tattoo artist, was doing half price Goku tattoos and stuff the other day.
Yeah.
But what I didn't notice, because this story just dropped 2 days ago, which would have been the 8th, is he died on March 1st.
Yeah, which was
So I guess
like
it
a full
stayed
week.
under wraps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
didn't.
that's good for the family and everything, but
Yeah.
it brought to mind you talking to about male role models and stuff, because I've been seeing my friends write about it, and my son was talking about it the other day because apparently Dragon Ball was very influential on young people and young boys, especially with
Yeah.
like inner strength, and had that kind of story.
Yeah.
where they were inspired by it and to be better. So
Yeah, but it's like you notice even though, we see some of these characters as good guys and stuff like that, but especially the male characters, it usually comes down to fighting. It usually comes down to like beating their problems, even if they
yeah,
do
and
it
I can
in
see where
aspirational ways.
toys are very much involved in that,
Yeah,
and it's not just marketing to that because like boys have always had more toys where you would play with and create the action, where that's why Barbie is such a big thing, because
yeah,
before Barbie all girls had were baby dolls, learn to act out taking care of babies,
yeah,
and then Barbies were our playing in third person, acting out things and the person you want to be. So
yeah.
anyway,
Anyway, yeah, that was a tangent.
well,
Oh,
yeah, you went on a tangent. I wanted my
yeah,
point of view in there too.
that is true. But yeah, and like Dragon Ball Z was my childhood. Growing up in the Adult Swim Toonami era of cartoons on Cartoon Network. Yeah, I loved Dragon Ball. Uh, haven't really seen much past Dragon Ball Z. But yeah, I mean, his art inspired a generation. I mean, not just in Dragon Ball, but in Dragon Quest and a bunch of other that whole style in general. Was
Yeah,
kind of started by him. So
I almost pulled up a story about what was the nighttime Cartoon Network thing you just mentioned?
Toonami or Adult Swim, one of the two.
Adult Swim.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're doing some kind of mobile game
yeah.
situation.
And I think they tried to do
Anyway,
that in the
speaking of
past.
stories,
Yes. Speaking of that, let's get to our watercolor talk before we go on any other further tangents.
You get that thing I sent you?
All right, let's go ahead and
oh
start with yours about unions.
yeah,
A
I was
union, I should say.
excited. A
Yeah.
union, a big one though. I was excited. Actually, I misquoted the number to my husband earlier, but still. So 600 of Activision Publishing's Q&A workers formed a union.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the biggest union for gaming in the US currently. And I'm really glad they did it. Communication Workers of America is who they voted to become unionized with. And CWA they were trying to get into a job. They also do like telecommunication workers and stuff fall under that banner. At least they did when they were trying to get in a place I worked that got, they were union busted out of course. But I'm I I think this is obviously prompted like by all the layoffs we've been seeing.
Yeah.
We talked about it before, only a handful of workers that got any protection from just being completely fired, and being able to get decent severance and nifty stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and see quality assurance, that's something we all want in our games. And this rush, all the money's at the top end of these companies, and then these games come out and they're a mess. Like, QA is really important. It's
Yeah.
undervalued because they're often entry level positions for people that want to just get into the industry and eventually become programmers or whatever creative they want to do.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, it's really a shame that that's such an entry level position, because it's, even though it doesn't require necessarily as much education as like programming or art design, stuff like that, it's still vitally important for the quality of the game itself. Because how many times have we been reading stories about games that come out busted, just in some way, and just, yeah, I mean, it's just in some instances it's unexpected, like with Helldivers. Their stuff wasn't quality assurance as much as it was just the servers, because they vastly underestimated how popular this game was going to be. But even games like Well, I don't think Redfall really counts because I was just a mess from top to
See,
bottom. But
but the way software QA works and the kind of testing they do, there's even then a lot of things that can be eh, load tested
true.
even without the full load on there. Like that's part of what they do.
Yeah.
Um, who knows what happened at Fortnite the other day, right? But I think this is like we were so excited about Microsoft finally getting Blizzard Activision, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then it was like, oh no, nothing's gonna change because there were layoffs. But
But
this is
and
a change. People have been
yeah.
since 2021. Employees at Activision have been trying to unionize,
Yeah.
and it finally happened. And Microsoft was like, "Yep, cool, we recognize it."
Yeah.
They already had some employees at Microsoft unionized by CWA in the past, so
Yeah. From
this is a positive
ZeniMax.
change. Another positive change, I think, partially
Yeah.
resulting from the new ownership.
Yeah. And the fact that Microsoft recognized it seemingly without any conflict, I think is a big part of this. It
Yeah,
is
they
like,
didn't try to bust up before it started, and they didn't try
yeah,
to just fire everybody after,
yeah. Oh, I
yet.
think I and this whole acquisition it's going to be rocky for a while. It's going to have its ups and downs. I hope it has more ups than downs. I hope the layoffs are going to be the worst of it. Uh, Despite that was pretty brutal. But again, for Microsoft, playing a little bit of devil's advocate on Microsoft's part, we don't know how many of those layoffs were planned before the acquisition. We don't know how many of them were directly from Microsoft or instigated by Microsoft. But it obviously getting this big acquisition and then laying off a bunch of people doesn't look good. But again, phrase I've said before, corporate's going to corporate. It's unfortunately going to happen. It sucks for everyone involved, but it's an inevitability.
Did you see the rumor, by the way, that Kotick wants to buy TikTok?
Go ahead. I don't use it. That's a platform I don't really care about. Oh, anyway.
I didn't until like this year, and I like it.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. I follow interesting people on there. Like, it's not what I thought it was initially, where just garbage.
Yeah.
I was actually really interesting. Like crafts and homesteading and media, like
Yeah.
history, news. Like, there's a lot more there than you would think. It's not just all little kids and viral dances.
Yeah. I would just expect him to Elon the whole situation and have it crash within like 2 years because he takes control of it.
Yeah, and it might go down anyway because of the government's going to shut it down. So.
That too.
And you got a story that I almost brought, but
Yeah.
unions got me all excited.
Yeah. So I have to play the role of Theo today and bring the downer article. So for anyone familiar with Red versus Blue, or the anime series Ruby, RWBY.
Yeah, it's Ruby though.
Yeah, it's
I
pronounced
love
Ruby.
Ruby. Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually never seen an episode of Ruby. I've seen some of the characters and stuff like that, but I've never seen the series. I'm familiar with Red versus Blue. I've seen some of the earlier episodes, but the series that I recognize this company Rooster Teeth, is Death Battle. Love Death Battle. Love that channel. And I've discovered that that is one of the primary reasons, or one of the primary instigators of why I hate Superman so much. Because he's beaten Goku 3 times on there. And it pisses me off every time. Anyway, that's different. But as part of the whole Warner Brothers Discovery purge, Rooster Teeth, which is owned as part of Warner Brothers Discovery, is being shut down after 21 years. Their first series, Red versus Blue, started coming out in 2003. like shortly after the original Halo came out, and was influential in that space. Uh, eventually going into things like machinima and stuff like that, and really showed how you can use these games to make narratives outside of the apart from the game itself. And they grew from there. They had, like I said, Ruby. They had a series with Michael B. Jordan called Genlock. They've had a couple of podcasts. They've gone through so much stuff over the last 20 years, and they're unfortunately not profitable, and are being shut down by Warner Brothers, which sucks again, because now all of those series, including Death Battle and our Red versus Blue, is actually going to be going into their last season. They already had planned that before this news dropped, so that's not really an issue. But all the rest of the stuff, they don't know what they're going to be doing with them. And
Apparently, they also had a corporate culture problem.
yeah, they had that as well.
That's sad. No
Yeah.
way a company that got its name that way would.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, by the way.
I didn't
how
know
they
that
got their
either.
name.
Yeah,
I thought it was from, because about that long ago when they started out, there was some viral pictures going around because somebody had altered the DNA of a rooster. Because like the building blocks of most life it's all in like embryos. It's all in the eggs, and
Yeah.
like they altered the DNA of a rooster so it had teeth. It's the most frightening,
I don't.
creepy thing.
Yeah, that's not something I want to
It's
see.
so weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, a rooster with teeth is really weird, and I thought that's where it came from. So
Yeah.
this was new to me. The
Yeah.
whole cockbite situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that out during this whole thing as well, because I never knew that either. Oh, but yeah, it just kind of sucks because they, like I said, Death Battle, which has been going on for I think 11 years now. Oh, that's another one of those, like in the same vein as Game Theorists and stuff like that. That's one of those things, one of those series where they just overanalyze everything. And it's amazing the kind of information you can get from it. And again,
You're
how
a real rabbit hole enthusiast, aren't you?
yeah, I have really. But it's like, and again, it's another reference for why I hate so many DC characters, because they're just bullshit powerful when they shouldn't be. It's like, anyway, Superman is like the last Superman versus
Not a
Goku.
Soups fan, okay?
Yeah.
I will say.
Like
I'm
I
not
like
a Soups fan, but I am a DC fan.
Yeah. I like some of the wholesome Superman moments in comic books. But other than that, I don't like the character that much in general, because he's just like, they've explained in the comic books that entire timelines literally are based around Superman's existence.
Yeah.
Entire timelines in the DC universe.
Well, because he's broken.
Exactly. And
Like,
it irritates me.
So that's why that would happen. All those timelines would have to diverge because he broke the system.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a weirdo because like the only Superman movie, the one I liked was Man of Steel.
That was my favorite too.
They finally gave him some depth. Like he had to make that decision.
Yeah.
About his power and to kill and how it changed him. Like
Yeah.
that was the only one I liked. So
yeah, that was
See?
that is my favorite Superman movie as well. I know it's like the least
should
liked
have flaws. Like people.
Yeah, it's like one of the least liked like modern Superman movies.
Yeah.
And that is my favorite.
Because the Supes fans lost their damn minds because he's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Anyway.
That's not interesting.
Yeah. But it is interesting. Like, yeah, again, just all the different battles they've done. Some of my favorites were like, I think they had Voltron versus Megazord, the original Megazord, and Voltron ended up winning. And like seeing the analyzing, like all the information that they analyze is amazing. Like the degree that they go to, like in the Megazord versus Voltron fight, there's two specific scenes that show their like max strength, where you see there's a frame in one of the comic books where the Megazord is punching this Godzilla-sized creature up into the air, and then there's a scene with Voltron kicking this machine up into the air, and even though the machine that Voltron kicked was smaller and lighter than the Godzilla creature that the Megazord punched, the fact that Voltron kicked it so much further up meant it exerted like twice the force. It's like, I love this overanalyzing stuff on YouTube. But yeah, I'm just frustrated that they're not going to be, I don't know what they're going to be. I don't think they even know what's going on with the series now. I don't know if they're going to be ending it. I don't know if they're going to be trying to take it to a different network. I don't know. I'm hoping it continues, but I'm not sure. And I'm sad. Yeah.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. Warner Brothers is on my shit list right now. Anyway.
I mean, yeah, but hearing about this corporate culture bullshit,
No,
like putting
that
an end
too.
to that is probably good before we have to hear all those stories. Let's put an
Yeah.
end to that abuse of power.
Yeah. I just
Like,
want
you
to.
didn't want to watch another company that you love their products go
Yeah.
through that, right?
Yeah. I want to be able to enjoy my stuff, the stuff that I enjoy, and not feel guilty about it. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, people should be better.
Yes. Agreed. But before we get back to work, I'd like to mention our Patreon, patreon.com/ptgcast. If you like the discussion that we're having, like to take part in it, and like to help us out, you can go over to patreon.com/ptgcast and help us out with our paychecks. Help us keep the show running and help us improve things. And you get some benefits as well. You get the pre and post show, which is another like almost half hour of content on each episode. So that is patreon.com/ptgcast. We'd really appreciate the help. And with that, let's go ahead and get back to work.
Morning break is over. Morning break is over.
All right, continuing on our early access theme for the month, we're going to be talking about a game that has consumed my life over the last 3 weeks called Satisfactory. And this is an anomaly. This is an anomaly for people who have listened to the show and know that I'm not a big fan of open world games and such. Excuse me. I'm not a big fan of like Minecraft because I look at it and see they tell me I can go out and do anything, and I ask why. This is
the monsters will kill you.
Yeah. I mean, there's not even that in this, but somehow just I love the problem solving. I love how much analytical thinking you need for this game. So this is developed by Coffee Stain Studio, published by Coffee Stain Publishing. It's currently $29.99 on Windows via Epic and Steam. It was originally an Epic exclusive, and then a year later came out on Steam as well. And it's one of the few games that when it came out on Epic, I bought it there. When it came out on Steam, because they didn't have any sort of cross save or anything like that at the time, I bought it again on Steam. So give you an idea of how much I enjoy this game. So this is a first-person factory automation game. So in the same kind of vein, if you're familiar with Factorio or Dyson Sphere Program or Shapes with a Z, as Scott Johnson keeps referring to it as, they all have kind of the same theme of automating the production of some kind of item. Players are controlling what's just referred to as a pioneer, which is someone basically in a spacesuit. It's first person, so unless you're playing multiplayer, you can't actually see the suit and everything. But you're playing just this pioneer for the Fixit company or Fixit Corporation, FICSIT, which I think is kind of amusing to me. I don't know why. But you're sent to an alien world in order to manufacture items for what they refer to as Project Assembly. Right now, because it's early access, that's kind of vague. You don't know exactly what it is. But basically, you're periodically sending these advanced parts up this space elevator to whatever project they're working on up there. And we're not going to get into every single detail of this game, because if we did, we'd be here for the next 14 years. There's a lot of stuff in this game, but what I will say very much so is I think it is paced very well. It eases you into the whole automation process very slowly, and it gives you checkpoints that you have to meet, which ensure that you understand what you're doing so far before you can advance further. I think it's very organic how they do it. I think it's very, very well paced in that fashion. So you're starting off, you're making very simple components using like one or two machines. So you're just like, okay, I'm working with iron. So I am able to dig up iron ore from this node. I put it into a smelter, converts it to iron ingots, take the iron ingot, put it into a constructor, turns it into iron rods. That's the whole process for that part. And for the first phase, or 4 phases in this, for the first phase, that's pretty much what you're doing. Like, most complex thing you're making is these modular frames, which take a couple more steps, but it's still pretty easy to understand. Then you unlock phase 2. You're starting to steel production, introducing coal into your factory. Phase 3, you're starting to introduce more liquid mechanics. You're harvesting crude oil to make plastic and rubber and create fuel. And then you get into phase 4 when you're starting to explore like aluminum production and nuclear power. And like throughout this game, the stretch of this game, you're starting off making iron rods and you're ending up making literal neutron star material called nuclear pasta. That's the spectrum of complexity in this game. It is wild. Like, eventually you're getting just ridiculous recipes that you need to make. But
it's
again,
also really, really beautiful.
yes,
For this kind of constructor, building out game, it is so just nice to look at. Like, it's cool and smooth, and the way things move. I just usually you've got that top-down view in this sort of game, right? And you're just plunking things into place. But this has a much more dynamic way of, moving things around and feeling more first person.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, in a lot of the other games, you don't necessarily have to worry about verticality, but this one you definitely do. The last update, they updated to, I believe, Unreal 5 we're up to now. When they originally started developing it, it was in Unreal 4. And then the last update, they updated everything to Unreal 5, which helped with a lot of the visuals, helped with the way that the world is loaded. Because before they would basically have the world loaded in chunks, and then once you passed the border from one area to another, it would load everything in that new chunk. Now it's more dynamic the way it's loading in, much smoother. And it's just a beautiful landscape and everything. And so on the subject of the map as well, the map is fixed. It doesn't vary or anything like that. Every time you play it, it's going to be the same map. Everything's going to be in the same positions, which is kind of beneficial because I have this one specific spot I always like to start off in, because it has a lot of really important and really strong resource nodes right nearby, and it's a good place to expand. But I can go there every time I start a new game. I can go to that same spot, start working again, and it's going to be the same time every time, which is cool. I can come up with other ideas and everything, which is great. But yeah, there's so many different biomes on this map. There's marshlands, there's jungle, there's desert, there's grasslands, there's just a bunch of different kinds of areas. There's caves, which are freaky at times because they have an arachnophobia mode in this game, because they have a little creature that looks like a spider, kind of, called stingers, and they're creepy as hell. So, and it's really funny because when you put in arachnophobia mode, it doesn't really get rid of the model. It just replaces the model with literally like a 2D cat face. And the color of the
That's
cats
funny.
corresponds to a different kind of stinger. Oh, so I was just amused by that. Oh,
Interesting.
so you can either
And it
be,
is one world, which
yeah,
I did catch in watching some footage. This is unfortunately another game I can't play yet.
yeah,
I think I'll
we,
keep an eye on it and see if it
yeah,
ever comes to Mac. But because I do like the way it looks, and I think that would drive me to play it more than a lot of these type of games.
yeah,
But yeah, that a lot of people thought because the maps were so different, the biomes were so different, that it was just a different map, like a different place. But
yeah,
it's not.
yeah,
It's
because
apparently just Australia, which is, in case you didn't know, the continent on our world that has like all 5 different
yeah,
types of climate.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, the map is massive, though. I mean, I can understand why people thought that it was if it was different maps because you have 4 like different starting locations on the map that you can start off at. Oh, and the map is so vast that like I've in my current game, I've been playing about 72 hours in my game already, and which is another indicator of how much I enjoy this game. Uh, and I have
Where'd you find that kind of time in a week?
well
Holy
this
crap!
this is over the course. Well, I've been playing this for like the last month, like pretty
Ah,
consistently for like a month now. Uh, at like a couple hours every day sometimes. Between this and
is the real
Helldivers.
motivation to cover the game. You had
Yes,
more
it was
reasons to
actually.
play it. I'm doing my homework, honey. I get it. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, legitimately, I've been excited to talk about this game for a while that again, normally I don't like bringing up early access games on the show, but this is
Right.
one I just wanted to talk about because I've been enjoying it so much. Uh, but yeah, it's, it's a beautiful, beautiful landscape. They actually, one of the things that they also added in the most recent update is before the like off in the distance in the areas that you can't actually reach on the map, it used to be just kind of open ocean. It just made the whole thing look like it was an island just out in the middle of nowhere. They've actually since made it so there's actual landscape off in the distance, so it makes it feel like it's actually part of a larger world rather than just alone somewhere in the ocean, which I thought was
Right
kind of
on.
cool. It adds to that vista. But I love how well paced this game is. How it eases you in, and then gradually, as you phase by phase, you get more and more complicated, and but it's just enough that it's like 1 maybe 2 steps beyond what you're already working on. So it's never these drastic jumps in complexity. Oh, I think that's very, very good way to do it. And the other thing that is really nice is they this game encourages you to experiment and just build whatever you want because you can deconstruct anything, back up and get full refund on all the materials. There's no penalty for building anything you want. Like literally my factory right now, I have probably built and rebuilt about 3 times, just trying to get the right placement, trying to get the right organization of all the parts and everything, and I'm not losing any material for it, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, 'cause
so
it's so frustrating when that's not the case, right? Because
yeah,
you're learning this as you go, unless you do all the cheats
yeah,
and look up and do all that homework to play.
yeah,
So being able to back up can be so frustrating in this type of game.
yeah. I mean, I think that was a really good decision on their part to do that because again, it really
Don't
opens up
ruin
that
the fun.
experimentation. Yeah, and actually, speaking of like all the cheats, there's a website that I frequently go to, Satisfactory satisfactory-calculator.com. They have like you can punch in like what kind of items you want, how many you want, and it can give you a list of all the things that you need to build up to it. It has lists of all the items, all the vehicles, all the buildings, all that jazz. It's a really good resource if you want to get into like understanding some of the nuances of the parts and everything. I actually have used it to figure out like what items I want to actually put in storage, because that's a consideration. And it's a really good resource for planning out the factories. Um, but the thing is, the thing that's really surprising about the state that the game is in right now, because even with how beautiful it is, how well the loop feels, how great it feels to figure out the best, most efficient way to create a certain item, this is still considered alpha phase for the game. Not even beta. This is still considered alpha because this is not feature complete. So this is all the mechanics of the automation are pretty well in there. All the recipes, with the exception of like a couple, are pretty solid. The alternate you have the base recipes, and then you can get alternate recipes as well, which, like, okay, you can make more of this item, but you need an extra step, or you need one additional part to make more of this item. Or it's like, okay, you can subtract a single part, but it's going to require more power, or it's going to require more buildings and stuff like that. It gives you that versatility to figure out. It's like, okay, well, I don't really have any power issues, so I can use more buildings, but I just want to be able to produce more per minute. So I'm going to use this recipe. It's like, or I don't have access to plastic yet, so I have to use this alternate recipe instead. It gives you that those choices, which I think is really cool. But the thing that, so as of the last update, which was update 8, they have since stopped doing major updates. We had an article in a previous show about how they announced that they're going to be, their next major update is going to be 1.0. It's going to be their full release. They don't have an exact date for it yet, but they did say it's supposed to be sometime this year, which is yet another reason why I wanted to talk about it. Now that they're going headlong into 1.0, their entire team is working on making the game feature complete, which involves a narrative, which is, I'm actually really looking forward to this narrative because there are several items in the game that are listed as work in progress. There's like 2 specific alien artifacts. One's called a Mercer Sphere, and the other is called a Summer Sloop. That they don't serve any function currently in the game. I think they've been known for a while that they're going to be part of the narrative of the game, and I think it's going to be interesting how those are incorporated. There's an ore that you can find that isn't used in the game yet called SAM ore, SAM, and it literally means strange alien metal. That has no use currently, and again, that's going to be part of the narrative of the game. So I'm really intrigued to see where these work in progress items are going to fit into the narrative. Because currently the only quote unquote narrative you have is just completing project assembly, and you don't really know anything beyond that. The other thing that I'm wondering is you can get some pretty advanced weaponry in the game. Like you start off with this basically a glorified taser called a Xeno Zapper, which it's not very strong. It's not very useful, but eventually you can get up to, like, I currently have the Xeno Basher, which is a longer version of the Xeno Zapper and does more damage, has longer range and everything. And the rebar gun, which is basically, it looks like it's like weird pressure, like almost steam powered, like handheld cannon that shoots rebar. And
Potato cannon for rebar.
Kind of, yeah, except like just it's like a box with a handle on it that you like crank this lever back to load the rebar into place, and it's single shot. You have to reload it each time and everything. And I have that, and I can pretty much, with a tiny bit of parkour, take out basically any enemy on the map. But you can still get like grenades. Effectively, they're called nobelisks. They're basically remote mines. Effectively, you can get those for clearing out certain rocks and certain other enemies and stuff like that like emit poisonous gas. And that's usually all you need, really, are those kinds of things. But you can get like all the way up to nuke nobelisks. You can effectively make mini nukes. You can get a fully
Okay.
you can get a fully automatic rifle later on. You can have that rifle armed with explosive rounds. It's like you can get
So
all
you
of
have a
the
bunch of OP weapons and you don't know why.
yeah, exactly. It's like what like is did they just put these in to make the few enemies or the few creatures that you have on the map a little bit easier when it feels like overkill for all of these creatures on the map. It's like why would I need a maybe it's just me. I don't really care much for overkill. It's like I can kill anything with the rebar gun. Why do I need the rifle? Or why do I need the mini nukes? So it makes me wonder if there's going to be potentially more dangerous threats as part of the narrative. Like, what if the aliens aren't gone in the
Well, there's
narrative of the
probably
story?
something, yeah, that is going to make it harder for
Yeah,
the game to have longevity.
yeah. Because they're still planning on updating this after 1.0 as well. So I don't know what future plans they have for this game as well. Um, but yeah, it makes me think that maybe there's going to be some more advanced threats that warrant these weapons. So I'm really intrigued to see what that's going to be as well. Because one thing that I really love in a lot of games is a narrative. I like there to be some like that's especially for part-time gaming and type games. Very narrative-driven games are kind of lend themselves more to being part-time games, which I will admit this game is probably among one of the least part-time gamer-esque games that we're going to talk about. Because it's still the kind of game that you can spend hours in and feel like you've accomplished effectively nothing. Oh,
Mm,
so I mean that is again, I've been playing 72 hours in this current game and I'm on phase 2. Uh I'm
wow.
I'm not even hitting end game yet. There have been multiple days where it's like I'm just going to go explore and gather stuff. And it's like and I do
But
that
you're
for like 2
getting,
hours.
like, how
I'm
long? Yeah.
I'm
I
still getting
mean,
entertainment out of the game. Oh,
okay.
yeah, I'm still and part of it is just the game itself. Not necessarily like
So
the
it's not for completionists as part timers, but
no.
you
I
can
mean,
get, satisfactory amount of play done.
yeah. Like I still have fun in the game even though I don't necessarily think I have really accomplished a whole lot. I still have fun doing it, which again, this isn't a common thing for me. A lot of games that do this are not the same, but this one in particular just somehow scratches my brain right. Oh, so but again, I am really looking forward to what features they're going to be adding. Oh, what kind of narrative they're going to have in it? What kind of potential new items? Like, what is this strange alien metal going to be used for? What is the Mercer sphere, the Sommer Sloop? Are they going to be Are they going to be something that you can transform into something else? Like, are they going to have like some kind of alien tech that you can create with these things? And I'm really interested in what they're doing with this. And unfortunately, I'm just going to have to wait until they come out with 1.0. They will have a closed beta uh, before 1.0 comes out. But
Can you sign up for that yet?
yes, you can actually. I think it's been possible to sign up for it about a month now, something like that.
Okay.
Um, which I still actually have to do. Oh, the thing is, it's like it just I've never had to do an NDA, which they're going to have one for the closed beta, like to the point where you can't even say that you're in the closed beta if you get invited.
Mm,
Oh, so I'm just kind of concerned about that thing because
that's a little weird. Well, I guess it prevents people getting hassled by
I mean that's their exact
media.
reasoning. That's their
Yeah.
exact reasoning is if you say, "Hey, I'm in the closed beta," then people are going to start hounding you. It's like, well, what kind of stuff is in there? It's like to just bypass that whole situation. It's like, okay, just don't tell anyone you're in the closed beta because I don't know how long the beta is supposed to be anyway. I mean, it's probably going to be mostly just bug fixing kind of stuff anyway. Um, but yeah, it's again this game just scratches my brain right. I love the problem solving. It's like because there's really isn't any wrong way of building up your factories. It's like you just like okay, do I want to make the factory where I bring in all the materials to a central location and then from start to finish do everything in one location, or do I want to break it up? Do I want to have like these parts over there because that's where the material is closer over there that I need, or so on over there. It's like I've come to the conclusion that for me it's like smelting is done at the resource nodes, and then I bring the ingots or the refined whatever to a centralized factory which is close to my storage facility. But then it's like, okay, do I want to use primarily conveyor belts, or do I want to use trucks? Because those are two different considerations. I'm at the phase where I have to use trucks. Rather later on, you can get trains and drones to bring in materials. It's like, so there's just a lot of considerations. And again, the fact that you get all of your resources back whenever you deconstruct something means you can experiment. You can say, it's like, okay, I can try the trucks right now. I don't really like the pathing that it's going to have to take. I don't like having to worry about refueling it and stuff like that. So maybe if I just take a conveyor belt from there to here, it's a little bit longer distance, but it's consistent flow of material and stuff like that. These are all considerations you can make in this game, and there's not really any wrong way of doing it. So it's I consider it a very pretty casual game. This is the kind of game where I'll play when I have to make sure I'm have an ear out for my kids. Like if my wife's not home or she's sleeping or something like that, I can put this on and if something happens upstairs, I can set it down for a minute, go up there, take care of anything, and come back and not miss anything. And in fact,
Low stakes.
yeah. I mean, and for those concerned about the creatures as well, they do have an option that you can make them completely passive. So they may have it so their default is if they see you, they attack you. They also have retaliate where they don't attack you unless you attack them first, and they have a completely passive mode where they won't attack at all.
Oh, that's good to have those options.
Yeah. And in fact, like in the last update, they've added an advanced options section for the game. So like, for example, if you want to do a completely creative mode version of the game, you can do that where you don't have to get the resources at all. Everything is free. Nothing requires power. They even have a fly mode where you can just fly around. They have a god mode where you don't take any damage from falls or anything like that too. So they do have a lot of options for the game as well. So if you, like I said, if you just want to like go in, just like, I just want to see how I can build these factories and like get an idea of what works, what doesn't, you can just throw on the option to make everything free and then just go in there and just build stuff. I was trying to do it as close to I actually don't think I changed any of the settings in my playthrough because I wanted to play it as like genuine as possible. Which is one of the reasons why it's taken me 72 hours to get to this point. But I enjoy playing it. I enjoy the construction, that problem solving. Again, the phrase I've used before. It's just my brain right.
Yep.
Yeah. So really looking forward to 1.0 on this. And again, there are so many details of this game that if we tried to get into everything, our show notes would be a book. But I think it's definitely worth a shot, and I think it's paced well. It's the onboarding process shows you like, okay, you take this, put it into the crafting bench, you can craft these items, and it eases you into it very well. And never really makes you feel like the next step is overwhelming. So yeah, at some point we'll have to consider getting you a PC so you can play some of these games too, or hope that they come out on Mac.
It means I go last, but that's okay because by then I know it's worth playing or not.
Yeah, true. All right. Well, I think that about covers that one. Again, I was just really looking forward to talking about this one. Although in retrospect, on the talking to Bobby Frankenberger from All Around Science, in retrospect, I should have tried to contact him about this game and get him hooked onto it, because he did say that it is on his radar and he has
He's interested.
thought about
yeah.
it. Yeah, because I feel like now this would be a perfect game for him because he really enjoys those automation style games. Like right now he's been pretty heavy into Shapes. If we
Yeah.
once Shapes 2 comes out, we might try to get him for that because he said he's probably going to be pretty big into that one as well.
Yeah, what's the other one he was really into? But it was more. It was a lot of resources, environment,
He's done
like
RimWorld.
civilization building.
Yeah, he's done
Yeah,
RimWorld.
RimWorld's one I
Yeah.
was thinking of.
Yeah, that's where he started, and then actually, I was looking over our back catalog. It's been like 2 years since we've had him on the show to talk about Oxygen Not Included. Looking back at those show notes, I still want to have him as a Patreon goal for our show notes. They were so complete and concise, and they were impressive. To the point where it's like my show notes for that episode was refer to Bobby's show notes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's
I-
only the tiniest bit intimidating that I'm making a research document because I'm booking guests for their show now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, not big enough. It's only like half a page.
Yeah. But really looking forward to the 1.0 on this game and really eager to see what kind of narrative stuff they're going to be adding and just what other miscellaneous features they're going to be adding because they specifically said that there are features in the game that they have not shown in any form in any of the updates that they're specifically holding for 1.0. So I'm eager to see what they got.
Well, I think their long time producing so far seems
Yeah.
well spent.
Yeah, I mean it's been in early access for I think 4 or 5 years now, something like that. But yeah, really looking forward to it. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you like what you've heard and you'd like to help us out, you can give us a review over on Apple Podcast. You can follow my Twitch and or YouTube channels for live recordings Sunday nights starting at 9:15 Eastern Time. Or you can become one of our patrons over at patreon.com/ptgcast. And we'd like to thank our board member, Stephanie Hurst. Thank you very much for your support. We really do appreciate it. And also, I'd like to mention that September is one of our patrons again. Forgot to mention that before, even though
I put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah, I mention you every episode anyway, but yeah, just trying to be consistent. And if you'd like to contact us, you can with our email, parttimegamers.cast@gmail.com. Or if you'd like, you can join our Discord channel. We have a couple people on there and you can give us suggestions. You can talk about games, about the podcast, whatever you want. Well, not whatever you want, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I have a link to our Discord in our show notes. And also, if you use the link bit.ly/CI Productions, you also get a link to all of these as well. Everyone, thank you for listening. Please join us next week for a discussion of Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, our last game that we're going to be talking about this month before our game night in 2 weeks. Really excited about that. We're going back to Stick Fight. Had a really good time with that. So we're going to be playing that in 2 weeks. I'm Sean. You can find this show and the rest of my work and links to my socials, including our Discord channel, my Twitch and YouTube channels, and the Apple Podcast listing using the link bit.ly/CI Productions, which I said out of order because I don't read the show notes.
Yeah,
even
you
though
already said that, dude.
Yeah, I know. I read that. Yeah. I'm a professional. Not really. Anyway, Ember, where can people find you around the internet?
Oh, go to 9of12.com. It's NINEOF12.com, and it'll point you to all my other shows.
And you can find some of Theo's work at swellcast.com/thatoneweirdo. All right, everyone. Until next time, we are the Part-Time Gamers clocking out. Once I get the right thing on the screen. All right, clocking out.